If you really want to understand someone, if you really want to know why they do the things they do, why they walk like they walk, why they talk like they walk, like they talk, and why they act like they act, you got to walk in their shoes for a mile before you make a judgment, before you really have understood them. You got to get into their shoes, and you got to walk in their shoes. You got to put yourself in the circumstances in which they act, they talk, they walk, and they do the things they do. Even if it's not literally, at least metaphorically. Plenty times I have heard that expression. I have learnt it from my teachers. I have read it in books. But it is only today that I really understand the depth of it, what it actually meant. I got the superficial meaning. If you want to know why a beggar begs, then try being poor first, and then you'll know why he begs, before you start mocking and laughing at those people. If you want to know why a man lies, then put yourself in that situation. And then you'll figure out why he's doing that. But today, I'm seeing a lot more depth into that expression and those sentiments. Because today I'm able to analyze it through the lens of the Dhamma. And today I'm beginning to realize that although we are so eager and so readily passing judgment on others, really there's no such thing as a bad person out there. There are no bad people out there. They're just people. But not just any old people. People who are destitute. People who are in despair. People who are in tremendous amounts of suffering and agony, anguish and pain and frustration. What you see when you look at them, what you can observe when you look at them, is really the things they say, the things they do, and the thoughts that they have to help them relieve themselves of the pain in which they find themselves. So go to a thief, talk to him, ask him, why do you thieve? Why do you take things that belong to others? And I can guarantee he will come up with a perfect justification. He will have all sorts of answers to give you. He will say, I rob, I take what doesn't belong to me because I have no other choice. I have a family that needs to be fed. I have tried to get myself a job, but with the qualifications that I have, I seem to struggle every time. They just don't accept my qualifications. They keep rejecting me every interview I go to. And even these menial jobs that become available, they're not enough for me to keep up my family, for me able to maintain them. So how, sir, then can you expect me to watch my family go hungry? As a father, how can you expect me to do that? Are you not a father? Would you not do that if such circumstances presented themselves to you? Is a question that they'll probably ask you. Most likely. So what they're doing is they're justifying their actions. So really, if you ask them, they're not bad people. What I did, taking something that didn't belong to me, was perfectly acceptable given the circumstances. In these circumstances, even you would have done the same. They might even challenge us. They might even be as bold as to propose that. You might have done the same in these circumstances. See, today I'm beginning to realize this more and more through the Dhamma, folks, and I want to help you to reflect on this, what I'm trying to explain to you here. Because I sense that there are people out there may be those among you, who still harbor thoughts of ill will, anger, pain, frustration, towards those who might have done wrong to you. There may be those among you who struggle to forgive. You're trying to, but it seems so very difficult. Just look into your lives and see if you have no one in your life where you're struggling to forgive. Just look back into your lives for a moment. In your entire lifetime, have you never come across someone who has done wrong unto you? Who said something they shouldn't have said, who did something they shouldn't have done? We made the judgment, they shouldn't have done that, they shouldn't have said that, that was wrong. Look at how they left me in the lurch. I trusted them and they broke my trust. I tried to help them, but look at what they did to me. They took what was mine. I only lent it to them, but they never returned it. I was very mean. And I struggled to forgive them. Do you not have such memories in your memory banks? People you struggle to forgive? You know, it's easy to say, it's water under the bridge. The saying is one thing, doing is another, isn't it? It's difficult. Sometimes there might be wives among you whose husbands have cheated on you. There may be husbands whose wives have cheated on them. You're either still together or you're not together. Either way, what has happened keeps festering in your mind and you're unable to forgive and move on. I want to help you. There may be parents here. Throughout their lives, everything they did was to give their children a good upbringing, to help give them a good education, to see them become successful in their lives, to reach for the stars. You worked hard, you toiled, you labored all day long. You worked overtime, you saved up for them, you invested in their name. You sent them abroad to the best universities that you could afford, to the countries that could avail them every opportunity to become successful. But for some reason or the other, perhaps they fell into wrong company. They fell into the wrong hands, bad associations. And today, you resent. Today, anger comes into your mind when you're reminded of them. Today, you're struggling to forgive them. Today, you're struggling to move on. Every time perhaps you sit down for meditation, or every time you close your eyes and you just want to be relaxed, you can't help but those ugly thoughts creeping back into your mind and troubling you. I want to help you. Perhaps you have relations who you try to help out when they were having troubled times. You helped them. You lent them some money. You gave them shelter. You supported them, providing them with ample opportunities to help them get them back on their feet when they were struggling. But now, hey, how easy it has been for them to forget all that, eh? You know what I'm talking about. Have you never had such experiences in your lives? Are you so blessed that you have never had such experiences? Or is it just me? So you tried a few times to get back in touch with them. When you get a chance, please could you maybe return that money? I need it now. It's a tough time for me as well. I'm driving on rims these days. It's okay, there's no rush, but it would be good of you to just return it when you can. Yeah, sure, I will. But that day never came. So you tried a few times, and then you thought, ain't happening. You gave up the money, but what you haven't been able to give up is that ill will that still lingers in your mind. See, you've actually given up the hard bit. You've given up the money. You gave up the sari. You gave up that jacket. You gave up the necklace. You gave up the ring. You gave up the diamond necklace. You gave it all up. The physical stuff you've given up. But something's still lingering behind. I want to help you. Because there's a way out of this. Or it may be that a good friend of yours used to be, not anymore. You trusted that friend with a secret. I'm going to share this with you and no one else but you, because I trust you. I trust you with my life, and therefore I'm going to share this with you. And so you took that leap of faith and you shared it with them. And that when you did, they said, don't you worry. Mum's the word. I'm not going to share this with anybody. Your secret is safe with me. So you trusted them. Days pass by, weeks pass by, perhaps a year or two pass by, and then somehow or the other you get word that the secret has slipped out. And you know for a fact that they are the only person you shared it with. No? Does it sound very alien to you? Plenty. Thankfully, these are not just things that appear in novels. So they're real things that happen to real people like you and I. Good. There have been people in my life, right? People who wanted to borrow some money. You lend it to them, and when they want it, they're so friendly, aren't they? They sweet talk you on the phone like your chocolate cheesecake. They can't sing enough praises about you. They come and beg at your feet. Literally. So you want to help the guy out. Sometimes it might be that you had other plans for the money, but you lent it. Things that have happened to me in my life. So I helped this guy out. He didn't live very far from where I used to, and he used to give me a call every now and then. But lent him the money. I didn't chase him for it. Just thought, can trust the guy. He'll return it to me when he's able to. He borrowed it with the promise of returning it to me in 3 weeks. This is an old story. But 3 turned to 6. 6 turned to 9. 9 turned to 12. So that's 4 months gone by. Months started to turn into years, and not a word. It's amazing, isn't it, how until you lend them the money, when you ring them, they pick up on the first ring. And then after you've lent them the money, this number is out of service. "Oh, this voicemail box is full. Please try again later." Incredible. So sometimes I used to see this guy on the road, and though it used to be that he used to look at me in the face and give me a wave, now he sees me a mile away, and the guy turns around and he starts walking the other way. Do you not have such experiences in your life? Well, I want to help you. I want to help you to be able to move on. There's a thing they say in psychology, try and forgive and forget. I'm not sure about the second part. Forget, well, like you can just switch off and format your memory, right? And then reinstall Windows. Right? Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that, because you can't delete your memories. I mean, sometimes time does that, but you can't volitionally delete memories. It doesn't happen like that. And besides, those are vipakas. All memories are vipakas. They are the results of previous actions. You can't undo them. But I can help you with the first part of that. Forgive. Giving is a great thing to do, isn't it? Giving. One of the best types of giving is what? What? Forgiving. Why? Because when you forgive, and this is why forgiving is the best type of giving. When you give anything else, usually the receiving party is who feels blessed, who feels that they have gained a lot out of it. But when you forgive, it's the giving party that feels great about it, more than the receiving party. Sometimes the receiving party doesn't even know that they have received forgiveness. But the giving party gains a great deal out of forgiving. So I have learned to forgive in my life through the Dhamma, not by trying to trick myself, not through affirmations, right? Not by waking up every morning and thinking it to me 1,000 times, I'm going to forgive that guy, I'm going to forgive him, I'm going to forgive him, I'm going to forgive him. It's not like that. No, there's actually a scientific way to forgive. A very methodical, a very logical way to forgive. The science of forgiving. That's what I'm going to share with you today. How about that? This is the science of forgiving. Proven and tested. Passes every single time. I put it through the lab. Comes out positive every single time. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And after a while, if you've done it enough times, then you find yourself in a position where actually you don't need to forgive, because you don't harbor feelings of ill will to begin with. So I'll teach you the science behind forgiving today. I'll share it with you. See how it relates to your life, and hopefully you will be able to find peace. To do that, as I said at the very start of the sermon, to understand someone else, it requires that you walk a mile in their shoes. You got to learn to look at things from the other person's perspective. And I don't mean this in the conventional sense. Let me explain myself. I will help you analyze what I mean by this. Because that you've heard plenty times. Look at it from the other person's perspective. If you've ever been in a fight, right? School, work, whatever, family, whenever you're put in front of a counselor, they always say, look at it from the other person's perspective. So this is not news to you. You've heard this many times before. Right? When your children fight, Buddha, look at it from Aya's perspective. But I want to take it to the next level. Really help you to understand the science behind looking at something from the other person's perspective. Not just trying to assume that you're the other guy, but actually looking at the science behind it. What's the logic behind it? How does it work? Do you remember, if not last week, the week before, we talked about something, and that was how the things that we do in our lives, we actually do out of necessity than choice. We do a lot of things in our lives, and I would even say everything in our life, because we have to do them, not because we want to do them. So it's out of necessity. There's a need to do it. If you didn't do it, you'd probably burst up. You'd probably have a mental breakdown. If you leave enough time without doing it, if you keep prolonging it for long enough, you're probably going to have a mental breakdown. A lot of people who end up in mental asylums do so because they have not been given the opportunity to relieve themselves of the vexations that arose in their mind for various reasons. Various reasons. Have you not heard of young guys who went mad because they kept asking a girl out but she never agreed? Put yourself in another person's shoes. The more this Dhamma sinks into you folks, right? You need to become sensitive to other people, how they feel. Ridding your mind of Raga, Dvesha, Moha is not the same as being insensitive to how another man feels when they suffer from Raga, Dvesha, Moha. They're not the same thing. Let me repeat myself. An Arahant is someone who is very sensitive. An Arahant is someone who is very sensitive. The Buddha is very sensitive. Not sensitive in the sense that you go and shout at him and then he goes to his room and starts crying for a week. That's not that kind of sensitive. That's the sensitivity that we talk about these days. That's not what I mean. His sense of empathy is boundless. An Arahant is someone who is so empathetic. They know what it feels like to be you. Why? Because they've been there. We've been there. So while an Arahant is someone who never feels the pangs of desire, aversion and delusion, he or she is someone who perfectly understands how someone who suffers from desire, aversion and delusion must feel like. And through that knowledge, through that perspective, they're able to empathize with you and not hold on to any grudges or feelings of ill will or hatred or anger. Because really all they see is Raga, Dvesha, Moha, walking on 2 feet, rather than a person. So think about some of the examples I gave you a moment ago, right? How there are events that might have happened in your life where you have been unable to move on. And remember, I'm not talking about the forgetting. You don't really have to forget. It's okay to be remembered of things that people have done to you, words that might have been said to you which hurt your feelings. It's okay. Don't try to forget them. Because I believe that there may be some among you who try to forget the past. It's pointless. Don't do that. The more you try to forget, the more it will keep coming back. That's the way it is. If you've ever been in a bad relationship, the more you try to forget it, the more you keep being reminded about it. So don't try to forget it. Don't force yourself to forget it. It's pointless. This is like trying to fight an enemy. To fight an enemy, you got to go and stand in front of the guy. So why do you call this guy an enemy? Because you don't like him. So you want to fight him. But to fight him, You got to go confront him. So, are you not the very person that's going in front of the person that you don't like? It's a bit like that. There's something on the floor and you don't like it. So, you want to get rid of it. What must you do? Walk away from it or walk towards it? There's something in this room that you don't like and you want to throw it out. You want to get it out of the room. Must you walk away from it or must you walk towards it? You got to work towards it. Why? So you can take hold of it and then throw it out. So if there's something you don't like, then you're constantly walking towards it to get rid of it. So it doesn't work. Don't try to forget things. So I'll agree with the forgive part, but I'm not a big fan of the forget part because it doesn't work. I tried to. Things have happened in my life, I tried to forget. No, it don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You just need to learn to forgive. Once you've forgiven, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're reminded of it. So let me explain to you the science behind forgiving then. Now, in order to do this, I want you all to think about someone. Potentially it's going to be someone rather than a thing. Think of someone who you are struggling to forgive. So let's actually do this practically. Where do I start, Swaminathan? So there's a long list. Okay, you can do the rest of them for homework. Okay, let's just take one. There's one person who keeps troubling you, the memory of whom keeps you awake at night, lest you are reminded of them. There's one person who you'd hate to receive a call from. There's one person who you'd hate to see staring at the face when you open your front door. There's one person who you'd hate to bump into along the street as you go on doing your shopping. Right? There's one person that you absolutely don't like because they have wronged you. They've done something, said something to hurt your feelings, and now you are struggling to forgive. See, in fact, the reason that you see someone like this and you walk away is because you're trying to forget, not forgive. You're trying to forget. Because when you see them, you're reminded of them, and then along with that, all the past memories keep flooding back. They start flooding back, don't they? It's like a deluge. It all starts flooding back, like a tsunami. So that guy, this lady or this man, this Jen that you're thinking about right now, how does that make you feel right now? That you're reminded of this person? If we did if we took a consensus temperature check on the dvesha right now in this room, how do you think we'll be doing? RDM scale? Where do you think your D is going to be? Pretty high, huh? All right, let's fix it. We can fix it. To do that, you've got to get in their shoes and walk a mile in their shoes. But here's what I mean by that. It's not in the very conventional sense of walking a mile in their shoes.